Say my name.
Heisenberg.
That's not my name.
Oh, they should have just sent the whiskey when they saw the trouble coming. Oh, they should have just sent the whiskey, then there wouldn't be a running. The times are tough and things are bad, so why be dumb and risky? When you see the trouble come, you better just send the whiskey. Now I hear the wine is mighty fine, but it makes you feel so frisky. But the trouble's gone.
Surrounded by idiots, I swear. Hi, it's me. As you can see, I tried to dress more appropriately for the occasion. You know, I'm somewhere in between a off-baked cowboy and a hobo. I guess it's wasteland appropriate. Or no? Oh, of course I have my booze, because that's always appropriate for any social occasion. Anyway, I happen to be a bit tired, so you'll have to forgive me if I won't be as coherent as I usually am. Also, if I'm a bit forgetful about certain elements. Speaking of which, did you know that those evil cursed zebra were responsible for throwing that meteor onto the Earth to clash with the thing in the underground? You know, the thing, that thing, the evil thing that caused the Zebra Empire to destroy, and which is a major happening event in the fourth Equestria universe, as it started the whole Maiden of the Stars superstition. That's funny, because I could have swore they said that before in Project Horizon. But I must have completely forgotten about it, because when they so casually revealed that in this latest chapter, I had the feeling I heard that before, but I couldn't care less because it was stupid anyway. All the things in Project Horizons, the supposed lores and explanation to fill the blank points that they need to be filled in the original story, only ended up making this universe feel smaller and insignificant. I complained that about a lot in the previous rant that I posted on YouTube. But unfortunately I have to reprise that argument, because one of the main focuses of this chapter happens to be that guy. Yeah. You know, that guy. The legate. That immortal zebra shaman, Islander crazed genocidal guy that I haven't had a chance to really talk in detail about Amadi in the previous rant now, did I? In fact, I kind of completely glossed over it, which is too bad, because he's actually one of the main problems of the story altogether. The very concept of this individual character is baffling and infuriating, because apparently he is responsible for all the major accidents in the universe. He is responsible for the tragedy of Little Horn, which made the war against the zebra all the worse. And of course, he's been planning and plotting to use the super weapon known as Project Horizons, which the least I talk about, the better, and to somehow reawaken his Lord and Dark Master, the Heater of Soul. The Heater of... I am not calling it that. I'm calling it... It's Lavos, okay? I'm going to call it Lavos from now on. It's Lavos. It is Lavos. It's... Eater of Souls. Really? So, of course, he's one of the main bad guys at the end of it. And of course, much like Goldenblood and Luna, and then became Cognitum, and a few other characters, he happens to be completely at the epicenter of every single plot point and narrative thread in the entirety of this story. Which is dumb. Because, like I said, like I complained many times before, having all your major story events colliding and being connected through one another through the actions of us selected individuals only makes your universe feel smaller. It has less weight. It's less interesting altogether. It's just... Delegate. So yeah, this chapter signifies the beginning of the end for the story, the final showdown, the third act, if you will. And it's mainly a fight against the Delegate. They were planning to attack Cognitum at the Space Luna Center and whatnot before she goes to space, to the moon, with a rocket ship. Yeah, I knew eventually they were going to go to the moon. I mean, duh. At this point, it was kind of obvious. Still, it doesn't make it any less annoying. To showdown to the moon with Cognitum. But before that, they had to face Delegate on Earth, because they didn't make any time to stop the Cognitum gal, which is now looking like a cross between according to the description, she's looking more like a cross between a Rapidash and a Terminator, methinks, or except also she has wings. But yes, she's supposed to look like she looks like a final boss material. That's what I'm trying to convey here. So, the chapter itself wasn't bad. It was actually the usual flair or quality when it comes to the writing of the story, meaning that I begin reading this chapter feeling a bit detached from it all, because it's been a while from the latest update, and there are so many characters and so many plot threads that I keep forgetting about, because I'm no longer all that invested in the story to begin with. And then slowly but decisively, once I get invested in whatever is going on at the present moment in the chapter, as the action gets more intense and gruesome, and then there is this ridiculously cool showdown and fight scene between BlackJack and the Delegate, which is creative, with all the fact that the Delegate is basically like a rampage. He is immortal, he cannot be killed in any way possible, so he keeps regenerating and coming back from death, and that allows for very creative fighting scenarios, such as I don't know. Maybe he's losing his some. Maybe he lost his eyes. But before they can reform, BlackJack manages to slip some pieces of glasses, and so they can reform with glasses, and he cannot see too well. Now, that kind of violent but creative solutions. Nice touch. If I can say anything positive about the author, is that he's quite inventive when it comes to fighting scenes. He's always have. Coming into this chapter, I was sort of expecting it to be similar to the final chapter to Fallout Equestria, but maybe that is going to happen in the actual final chapter of this story, but I hope not. I was expecting they would put the Perceptitron to the only feasible use it could possibly be applied to, since they went to the trouble to introduce that complete and utter MacGuffin. They were going to use the Perceptitron to see every single aspect of the battle from every single point of view of the major characters that were involved in the attack at the Space Luna Center. It didn't happen. I'm actually thankful for that, so if anything, the author knows what the readers want, and they want to see what BlackJack does. No one, BlackJack are close companions, because let's be completely honest with ourselves. We don't really care all that much about all the millions and gajillions of other side characters. We only care about BlackJack and the way other characters interact and mean to BlackJack. Now, I'm not talking about main characters, such as her most closest companions. I'm talking about the thousands and hundreds of other side characters that we didn't really have a chance to get all that attached to. Do we really care about Big Daddy and what he's doing? For example, I don't. Maybe you do. I don't. So it's a good thing they kept the focus where the focus needed to be. So they infiltrate the Space Luna Center. And while there's this battle raging on the outside to distract the Brood. We'll talk about the Brood later on. I don't like them either. So, then during the infiltration mission, we had BlackJack and Boo and Glory and Scotch-Tape and P21, the usual suspects. And then the author decides to do one of the worst things any author of any story could possibly do. Introducing new characters out of nowhere, right at the end of the story. To be honest, I did not like it when K-Cat, the original author of Fallout Equestria, did that as well, by introducing Lionheart and that Dragon Mouse when the story was about to conclude as major important characters. So of course, Somber, whom his entire writing philosophy seems to be, I'm going to take Fallout Equestria and make it 20% awesomer. He decided to introduce 4 new characters out of nowhere that apparently were there all along because they have been Amadi's cohorts. And much like him, they were cursed zebra, their star categories, so-called 3 adult mares with power of fire, ice, and what else? Plus a little zebra filly that's apparently very cute and is going to be a love interest for Scotch-Tape because why not? Whom can predict the future? Because why wouldn't she be able to predict the future? Was that really needed? They really need 4 new characters out of nowhere that were supposed to be actually important because they were major cores to Amadi and were never, ever mentioned before in the million-plus words story so far. That's just disconcerting to see this kind of things happening. It doesn't make any sense from a narrative standpoint. Just like that, we are about to reach the end, the climax, and then with the pum out of nowhere, 4 new characters that apparently were involved in this story all along. I can keep complaining to this forever, but best moving on. I could really tear this chapter apart with needless nitpicking, such as BlackJack's brand new shiny shotgun, which she happily baptized as Sexy, because she's BlackJack, that never ever seems to run out of shells and bullets and ammunition. Even though it was made abundantly clear, that it hugs a lot of ammo. So, also they never run out of health potions. And all that. Also the Brood. I'm not all that fond to the concept of the Brood. I mean, they are cybernetically engineered zebras. Sometimes with horns and wings. Sometimes, and apparently there is an illimited reservoir of this particular enhanced troops, and I think that's just one of the things that don't sit well with me with the story. Just the story going too far with ridiculousness. But I made my peace with that. Still, the fact that they never actually ever end, that's kind of a problem, especially if they become the major reason why a certain character doesn't make it at the end. Although, to be honest, that last part in the chapter, that was quite good. I don't think it was actually necessary in any way possible. I don't think it was really necessary to add more suffering to BlackJack at this point in the story, considering everything she went through. I don't think it was necessary to sacrifice that character to, basically give BlackJack that final push. She didn't really need that. But at the same time, it was a good moment. And more importantly, it was heavily foreshadowed. Seriously, with all that talk of tomorrow we settle things, tomorrow we fix our relationship, tomorrow, you just knew it. You just knew it going in that somebody was going to die, or at least going to have some heroic sacrifice for the greater good. The fact that it ended up being Glory to do that sacrifice makes all the sense in the world. Far more sense than, say, a B-21 or a Scotch tape. They had just broken up, her and BlackJack. The relationship was kind of over, but kind of not. They still needed to fix things about the relationship. So of course she was going to sacrifice herself and possibly die. We actually don't know that for certain yet. I wouldn't put it past to bring her back because just of how popular she is, but the author, I mean. But bring her back because popular and all that. Still, it makes all kind of sense that happened. That's a natural story progression. And and even the ridiculousness of everything going around this moment, building around this moment, didn't distract me, or presumably also other readers, from how important that scene was. You know, despite the never-ending brood constantly attacking, forcing her to stay there and with a broken wing and not able to fly over the space rocket to go to the moon, and also the whole going to the moon thing, to chase Cognitum, who is now going to the moon palace of the moon to do something or the other with the super weapon that right now I can't remember what was the point of it all, because Project Horizons, the whole charade of Project Horizons was so idiotic. I think my brain automatically tried to shield me from that idioticness. And now I'm making up words because I am not drunk enough. We have to fix that. Seems like I'm complaining a lot, but truth be told, it was an enjoyable chapter as far as this story can be enjoyable at this point. Also, maybe it's because things are about to get even more serious, there is significantly less sexy an amount of sexy innuendos flying around. I am glad for that. Yes, I am not a fan of that particular portion of Project Horizons, and there is one in every chapter, in some fashion or the other. Still, the Breaking Bad reference, in which she is like confronting the legate, and she say, I am the Maiden of the Stars, say my name. And he's like, BlackJack. That was funny. What was less funny and more downright stupid, with 2 O's, was the legate saying, no, you can't be the real BlackJack, you're dead, you died. You know, it wouldn't be so bad if he didn't keep repeating that over and over and over. No, you're dead, you're supposed to be dead, you cannot be here, you're dead this, you're dead. I can kind of understand it because he didn't have any prior experience with the BlackJack phenomenon, because apparently she is allergic to dying. But still, from a reader's standpoint, that is beyond annoying. I mean, it's BlackJack! She is not allowed to die! Literally! See what I did there? I mean, according to the author, her special talent was winning, which means she would never die. So yes, please keep being surprised about that, Amadi. It doesn't get old after the first 10 times you say that. Now, here's my favorite part of this chapter. When Sakashi the Zebra compares BlackJack to the so-called Fool, with capital F, which is an entity in their zebraic traditions that apparently is dangerous because even the Fool doesn't know what he's going to do, and is the worst enemy of tyrants and figures who seek power, because the Fool would put a giant monkey wrench in everything that's going on with their planning. The Fool fights for what the Fool thinks is right, even though the Fool is foolish enough not to think about what the Fool is doing. And for the first time in the entire story, finally, we get an appropriate analogy, an appropriate symbolic title for the character of BlackJack. The fact that she's a fool, or also known as the gambler, which gambles with odds and chances in order and never actually gives up in pursuing her path, whatever her path may be, because she might even know what their path is, but it ultimately leads to the destruction of the tyrants. After reading that part in the story, I felt particularly validated, because that's what I've been saying all along about what BlackJack symbolizes, what BlackJack destiny and also special talent is supposed to be. She is the gambler, and she has the tenacity of a gambler. That's what I thought her cutie mark meant all along, but apparently it means she's a winner. Maybe they're going to prove me wrong on that. I hope so. I hope so. That's the case. But anyway. Chapter 71. I think I covered the most important moments of it. I was half expecting BlackJack to go to the moon on her lonesome, because A, it would be the final showdown, A, and B, this story has been mainly about BlackJack. She hasn't been consistently with a bunch of characters or people for very long amounts of chapters. That's also one of the reasons why I kind of stopped caring about everything else aside from BlackJack, because when she gets separated from Group A, she ends up with Group B after being alone for a while, and then when she rejoins with Group A, the characters might have grown up off screen. So they become more mature, but we were not there to see their growing up. We are always in the presence of BlackJack, which means we have no particular reason to care about these other characters. We still do, because, well, these last chapters have been wisely devolved into exploring better the relationship between BlackJack and P-21, which is a good thing, mind you. That said, I am surprised that at the end of the day she ends up in that rocket spaceship that goes to the moon, along with P-21 and Scotch Tape. P-21 made sense, but Scotch Tape is an interesting choice to include in the climax of the story as a BlackJack's final companion to the possibly what I hope against hope is the final climax of the story, which is going to happen in the next chapter, I hope. But honestly, this story might have had like a million possible potential final climaxes that never turned out to be actually the final climax. So I wouldn't put it past the author to prolong this story even further after a confrontation on the freaking moon. Oh, seriously, where do you go from there? What? Are they going to go back to the core and destroy the Lavos? So to recap, we have 4 new characters that didn't need to exist in the first place. One of them is most certainly going to become special friends with Scotch Tape, because why would they even bother to suggest that otherwise? Maybe they're going to get to play some role in the end that helps them out and all the, to justify their very existence, but still, it's kind of irritating, the fact that they exist at all. And Amadi is probably not dealt with yet, because last time we saw it, he was frozen today, and his limbs have been severed, so he is stuck there for the moment. Maybe he might be stuck like that for forever. They will keep it inside a freezer and all that, like the blob, which would be the sensible solution. Maybe. Or maybe he's going to once again pop out again and do some damage, because that seems to be his most predominant quality, being a hindrance to everyone. And curiously, we haven't seen a single trace of Rampage in this chapter. I wonder if she's gone to the moon along with the Cognitum. But if that's not the case, where is she now? We'll see about that. I fully expect BlackJack's plans about Cognitum to go all wrong, because that's what always happens. I mean, at this point it's not going to be a surprise, it's going to be an expected item on a figurative checklist for that to go wrong, because that always seems to happen, and since it always happens every time, the tension is not there at all. Still, I expect some really good final exchanges between her and Cognitum, and an indubitably entertaining fight, but we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens whenever the chapter 72 rolls out. Now, I hope I haven't forgotten anything important. Otherwise, I think I'm going to close it here. The Breaking Bad reference was cool. It made me chuckle. Well, that's it for now, Wastelanders, guys. See you next update.
Oh, they should have just sent the whiskey when they saw the trouble coming. Oh, they should have just sent the whiskey, then there wouldn't be a running. The times are tough and things are bad, so why be dumb and risky? When you see the trouble come, you better just send the whiskey.